Coming up on AI in the Classroom, 4 ways to teach about AI this coming year. Hi, my name is Guy Trainin, and I'm a professor at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and I want to talk about the 4 ways you can get ready to teach about AI, even this summer or beginning of fall. The first thing you should definitely do, if you haven't done it already or if you haven't done it recently, is use AI. Choose any of the models that you want, depending on your preference, on access. You don't have to pay. Choose a free model and just use it for a few things that are professional, just to see how it reacts and what it can do. I think that interacting with AI really gives you a sense of what's going on, what is possible, and a little bit about the limitations. And speaking from experience is really important. You probably don't have the opportunities to expose your students to AI very much. It really depends on age, because much of it is age-gated. It also depends on what your school system allows and doesn't allow. So you having the experience at least allows you to have something to lean back on and to speak from some experience. The second thing that I would recommend is doing a short course that is self-paced and doesn't require you to go to school somewhere or anything else. There are very few experts about AI right now. We're all wondering somewhat in the dark about what's going on, and the models keep changing. So I wouldn't necessarily pay for anything, but try to get a source that gives you an overview of what it is. The more you know, the better you can talk about it, and not just from grasping about things you hear in the media. The media is really fixated on these narratives of AI is going to save us from everything and solve everything, all the way to this is the end of the world and AI is going to take all of our jobs and control all of our lives. These might be true, but this is not a really functional way to talk about AI right now. And knowing a little bit more would help you talk more intelligently and really help problematize those media narratives, whether it's the positive or the negative. I think both are not true. One such example is in the training course, AI Basic for K-12 Teachers. It's from Common Sense Education, which is one of the more reliable sources out there. And they've collaborated with many other resources teaching about technology and media to put together a basic course that you can take online that does not require you to pay and gives you a basic understanding of what it is. So you can see that you have to create an account. I do have an account, so I'll go forward and get in. So what you can see is there are very specific learning outcomes outlined, and you can start going through the module and really you can see that this is not super long. And the idea behind this is to provide some basic information and to get you going without really overlaying too much detail or really outlining so much information that it becomes untenable. So you can think about this as a really good resource that you can do in your spare time. Summer is a good time, but maybe the beginning of the school year as you're getting everything else ready. If you have enough time, take a few minutes every day to kind of get up on AI basics for teachers. And remember, these are basics. This is not going to make you a master of all AI, and that is not the goal. The goal is to be able to talk to our students about AI, also known as AI literacy. So that's the first thing that you can use is this mini course. Of course, as I said, keep using AI in ways that make sense to you, in ways that feel ethical to you. And it is important, though, when you consider the ethics, is also to remember that we have to teach our students about this. So some interaction is justified just because we are learning, so we can be intelligent in the way we talk about it. The second resource is, as we switch and start thinking about our students, is to use Code.org. Code.org, with a few other partners, created a series of courses and opportunities to interact, for students to interact and learn about AI or interact in a closed system. So it is an AI, but it is the kind of AI or a chatbot that is very limited, that it poses no danger, and they cannot do their homework with it, for example, because it's tailored for a specific task. And so you expose them to the way you interact with the chatbot without having any of the dangers or any of the permissions that are needed, because it is in a protected space. And what you can do as you look at this, I do have an account on code.org. You do have to do that. It is free. Take advantage of it. I can say, for example, I am teaching 3rd grade, and I want something that will take 1 week, between an hour and a half and 4 hours. That's what I have. So let's select that, and that will give me a few options for teaching things. This is, of course, about CS, but there's also the course about how AI makes decisions. And this is exactly what you want to use for teaching kids at that grade level. You can then get a quick view, which lets you see what the lesson plans are, the fact that they have also slide decks and everything else. You can try it, get access to it. Again, access is free, so you can get access for you. You can also get access for your students if you so desire, but you have a set of materials from code.org that can do this. Of course, if you have more time, if you're saying, I actually have 4 to 16 hours, you will have different options. So it allows you to really filter what you're interested in based on grade, on topic, on duration, what devices you have, and all of that. So that's from code.org. And the last thing I want to highlight, this is the 4th thing, is to use Common Sense Media. We used it for the teacher course, but what I'd like to say is they also have lots of information, just like they do about movies and video games, which is where Common Sense Media really started, is who gives parents some guidelines about what's available there, and not just a rating, because ratings are always, we're not sure why, but the detail. So here in Common Sense Media, they also have reviews of the different AI chatbots. So this is, for example, one of my favorites, Claude, and you can see that it gives a general, the one-liner. And you can see they also have the AI review team, and they tell you this is for age 18 plus. So obviously, if kids are younger, they should not use it. But it also has a higher level of detail. What is it? How does it work? And there are links in each one, so you can actually understand how these work. And then talking about risks, and talking about limits to use. So for example, it talks about under 18 and not allowed under 18 and message limit and all of that. Some of my brain is right now wondering how updated it is, because these things keep changing. For example, Google just lowered their age limit on some of their AI. So I'm wondering whether that should be a way to think about it. But this is, again, giving you, as a teacher, access to some basic information that includes safeties and most of the worries. They do the work for us, so we don't have to do the actual detective work, because that might take quite a bit of time to understand how it works, to understand what the potential risks are. And so this is another great resource from Common Sense Media. So, just to summarize, I think you should start teaching about AI this year. And the 4 ways you can do that is: 1, use an AI chatbot just to get to know it. Second one is use one of the freely available short courses for teachers. The one that I gave as an example is from Common Sense Media, but there are others. 3, code.org has a series of lessons that you can adapt to how long you have to work with kids on this, knowing that we don't have infinite time with kids and we have many other things that we have to do. And the last one is using the Common Sense Media ratings and reviews to make sure you understand, if you do choose to use something, what are the limitations and concerns. And I'll see you next time on AI in the Classroom.